not only reflects recognition of the value of youth labor in the district, but it also reflects the rising cost of living around the world and in particular our city. With better pay, it is our hope that we will continue to inspire and enable district youth to thrive. And finally, we will discuss Bill 25745, which modernizes the district's child labor law by rewriting its provisions in plain, clear language and updating the policies of youth work permits. Alongside other protections for employed minors, the existing law requires special youth work permits. It restricts the hours and occupations for employed minors, sets special rules for minors employed in performing the arts, and establishes penalties for violations. Most importantly, in 2007, there was a reorganization of the educational system in the district, and that resulted in mayoral control over the school system and eliminated the Board of Education, which was previously responsible for administering child labor laws. Since then, there has been no district agency charged with monitoring, implementing, and enforcing our child labor protections. And so it has been the responsibility of individual schools. Furthermore, the law places that responsibility with the Department of Employment Services, that is our largest employer of minors through its summer youth employment program. At this time, okay. All right, we'll move right on. I was about to recognize any colleagues that may have joined us, but perhaps they will. I would like to note for the public's benefit that there are at least 3 additional hearings going on simultaneously at this time in our government here at the Wilson Building. So with that, I will now turn to our public witnesses. I believe we have 7 public witnesses today, and then we will move expeditiously to our government witness. So do we have? Okay. There is a little technical glitch up here, so we don't have everyone that where we can view. I guess we'll. We'll see who is in the meeting room, our virtual meeting room. Well, I do see Mr. John Capozzi, who is here, and he is one of our public witnesses. So, Mr. Capozzi, if you will come forward. And Mr. James Volman, okay, who is representing On-Ramps to Careers. And I believe the other witnesses are virtual, so. No one is in the Zoom. All right, so do we have Carmen Brito? No. Carter Hale? Okay, all right. Thank you all for being with us. We do not have anyone in the Zoom. We were trying to find the Zoom, but we do have public testimony, written testimony. So we'll start with you, and we'll start with you, Mr. Capozzi, and then we'll move to Mr. Volman. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Chairman Bonds and committee. We appreciate the opportunity to come and testify today for this very important bill. My name is John Capozzi, and I'm Director of Recruiting and Retention for On-Ramps to Careers. And we're a program that provides internships and technology training and job placement for DC high school and college students. Last summer, we had over 300 internships for DC students. We're hoping for the same number or more this year. Our offerings at OnRamp include pre-internship training such as resume building, internship preparation, and communication skills. And our participants interview with our employer partners and are matched with companies that are looking for IT skills and career interests. In working with the Department of Employment Services for the past several years, OnRamps has enjoyed a great relationship identifying MBSYEP participants who are interested in IT careers. Our secret sauce is really that once we've identified students for the internship in the first quarter of the year, we assist them in all areas of pre-employment, developing a compelling resume, honing their interview skills, exposing them to IT industry professionals from similar backgrounds. This process ensures that on the day that their internship starts, which this year is June 24th, 2024, they're well aware of the expectations that employers have. The Pay Our Youth Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024 is fairly timely and actually long overdue. The Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program has been paying substantially less than the city minimum wage for years, and this act will correct that. And all youth between 16 and 21 years old will receive $17 an hour. If we hope to engage DC youth in meaningful career-oriented employment, DC needs to raise that wage to be equal to the DC minimum wage so they can work at jobs in DC that are career-focused through MBSYEP. Additionally, equalizing the wages paid through DC Career Ready internship program, which is out there as well, and SYEP will eliminate the significant amount of confusion for DC youth between the two programs. Right now, sometimes DC youth have to choose between a service job and a career-oriented position through the Summer Youth Employment Program. And I think this act will change that. I work with a lot of the high school students here in the city. I visit the high schools, and I know that many times students say, well, gee, why is it only paying $10 an hour? Well, this will correct that, and I really appreciate you introducing this legislation. The Middle School Career Exploration Act Amendment of 2023 is also an important step to engage even more DC youth in their middle school years and especially orienting them toward IT careers. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Mr. Volman?
Thank you, Chairman Bonds. Good morning. I'm Jim Volman. I'm representing the nonprofit OnRamps to Careers, where I serve as a board member and treasurer. 3 bills that are subject to this hearing are important elements of a comprehensive effort to ensure that youth are prepared for careers through exploration and career-focused work experience, while ensuring that their employment is both safe and monitored. Let me address each bill separately. First, the Middle School Career Exploration Pilot Amendment Act is of critical importance to ensuring that the pipeline of talent is being nurtured during the important middle school years. Exposure to careers, their requirements, and their rewards at an early age will, at a minimum, let the students and their parents know what is possible and also what it will take to achieve it. Many young people do not realize that taking or not taking certain science or math courses during middle school either can open or foreclose some career paths. Exploration is but the first step. As the program is designed, it is important that the youth also are inspired to dream big and to know that others just like them have been successful. We would encourage the engagement of various volunteer organizations, for instance, Women in Tech, Black and Cybersecurity, employers and successful graduates of the DC schools to engage with the middle school students. Many of the alumni of OnRamps already make such presentations to DC high schools and would be willing to engage with the middle schools as well. Second, the Pay Our Youth Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024 is timely. The Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program has been paying substantially less than the city minimum wage for years. This act will correct that for youth ages 16 and older. OnRamps has been a partner with SYEP for over 10 years. The fact that SYEP has paid the wages for summer interns we recruit and place with private sector and government employers has allowed us to reach significantly more students than would have been possible if the employers themselves needed to both manage the internships and also pay the wage. However, in recent years, there have been students leaving promising internships because they could make more money in fast food, other retail, or movie theaters. The amendment will eliminate their need to choose between wages and career experience. The amendment also harmonizes the wages being paid through Career Ready Internship Program and SYAP, eliminating a significant amount of confusion for young people. This amendment is a giant step forward. Third, the Youth Work Permit and Employment Protection Act of 2024 is a sensible step to bring DC's youth employment law into the 21st century and to clarify responsibility for various implementing agencies. This is not our area of expertise, so we'll only limit our comments to one item. We assume that the exclusion of DC and federal government from the definition of employer will continue to exempt the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program and Career Ready Internship Program from the Youth Work Permit process. If not, it should be clarified. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you to both of you for your testimony this morning. I'm really excited that you represent such a significant program that is already dealing with our young people and employing them, and that you are supportive of these bills, because we're trying to bring our young people into the 21st century and beyond. And some of what we found on the books is back from in fact, late 1800s. And so, of course, none of us were here then, but we do understand that makes it very difficult, very much like our criminal code, if you recall discussions about that and how, there are provisions in the current criminal code where we still have to clean up behind horses as they're on our streets. So it's that ancient. And so this is all good news, I think, for our young people and for our society. So I want to thank you. I did have a few questions as it relates to your points about it being timely for 16-year-olds to be brought into this regular pay scale, and with the understanding that they are performing tasks, and that also encourages them to have an appreciation for the work world. Just wondered if we are talking about those that are in apprenticeship, where they are almost required to learn skills. Is that the same as if you are in an internship where you are more on the job learning, but really tell me what your thoughts are we talking about a uniform pay based on age, or is it based on the task or the expectation of the learning that will can be attributed to the role that you're playing? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Chairwoman Bonds, I guess the way I would describe it is that since young people have the opportunity now to make $17 an hour in any job that they get here in the city, we're as members of OnRamps, Jim mentioned the idea that we're getting them that career readiness, which is a little bit different than a apprenticeship, because of course apprenticeship leads to a specific job. And with our internships, we're really hoping to orient them toward an IT career. And there's so many aspects of IT that they could go into, but and even if they go into a different career, knowing that IT background is really going to help them. So we feel that increasing this wage would be something that would be allowing those young people to pursue that dream, as opposed to going into a more service-oriented position that, although good to have and good experience, would not give them as much career experience and, in essence, lead them toward college and a successful IT career in the future.
All right. And how about you, Mr. Bowman?
I would echo what John said. I think part of what goes on with these internships is that students realize that it's possible, that this job is something they could do. They learn about employers. They also learn about the specifics of the job. And sometimes they take one internship 1 year and say, well, that's interesting. And they take a different one the next year and find that that's the career path they want to go to. But I know that it inspires them, because such a large fraction of our students pursue STEM careers when they get to college. and a large fraction of them, much larger than the district as a whole, about 89% pursue college degrees. So I think it's inspiring them, and it gives them an opportunity to see what the workplace is like. It's not the same as an apprenticeship, but it's much more focused on inspiring them and letting them see what real work looks like and what real employers do. And a number of our interns have been employed by the same people after they've left college that they interned with during high school. And so I think it's important, particularly one of the things that happens is that our seniors who are going from senior year to college are now back. If they were in the Career Ready internship program, they made $17 an hour. If they're a senior for this legislation, they'd make $10 an hour. And so I think that's a step backward, and it's critical. If they had an opportunity to do another internship, it gives them that leg up when they go back into the employment market.
All right, and for the career readiness program, because it subscribes to young people as young as 9, what is your thought about that the pay, so to speak? I know it's basically a program of learning where you learn about different careers. It's more informational than it is where you have to do a particular task that would actually be training you. So what do you think? Should that be a program where we attribute a financial outcome to the participants?
Well, I live in Southeast DC, and I can tell you that east of the river, those young people need that money. And so that is an important aspect of this program that might be overlooked to some people. But, even raising the 14 and 15-year-olds to $10 an hour is a critical step to engage those young people. And we have so many issues with young people in the city that we talk about. But if we can engage them in this type of employment, hopefully keeping them in school and keeping them interested in, positive things that are going to help them in the future, I think that's another reason why this is so important.
I appreciate hearing that from you. I think both opportunities are extraordinary. What I'm trying to get a clear understanding, if it is possible, is the thoughts about whether or not the amount of pay should be, or stipend, should be based on age, or should it be based on the task? What we are giving a young person an opportunity to do. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think if you're doing the middle school pilot program or the middle school program, you're dealing with a lot of stuff that is exploration and learning. So whatever stipend is appropriate for that is what should be done. I don't think they're necessarily doing tasks as much as they are looking at things, learning pieces, getting an idea of what it takes to be in the workplace. So I think that is, I think the stipend is not necessarily task-based, but basically a way of encouraging the students to participate.
And also, the program is a 6-week program during the summer, and we've talked about doing it year round. But if you want to engage young people, if they're getting paid every 2 weeks, their engagement is going to go way up. And I think that that's what we want, is that we want people to join the program, and we want them to complete the program successfully. And I think that will definitely help.
Well, I appreciate you all's comments very much. I was just trying to think now, should I be a devil's advocate and talk about, the downside? Yes, we should, because we're talking about dollars and cents. We're talking about particularly taxpayer dollars. So to that end, do you see any, the other side where young people as young as 9, 10, 11 receiving a stipend, is that going to be or could be problematic as the young person is receives a money card or a check or has an account where money is deposited in their name, would that be an issue within that household in your thinking?
And well, I guess I go back to a lot of households in the city really need that money. And so they're going to hopefully manage it. But I think the younger young people get a chance to work with
Got it.
with getting a regular paycheck or getting that money. It's going to help them with budgeting in the future. And I think that is a positive step. Taxpayer dollars need to be spent in a way that are going to be most responsible and investing in our young people. And when you say 9, 10 through 24 years old, I think that's the best group that we can actually invest that money in before something goes wrong. And so this would be the best way to do that. That's why I think the Summer Youth Employment Program, which is unique here in DC, allowing every young person that opportunity to get that job is so important. And this funding would really enhance its results.
All right. Do you see any, perhaps any results from lowering the number of young people that practice truancy? If they had ongoing, would this make a difference in your opinion?
Absolutely. I think that anything that engages young people to show up and be responsible, and Jim mentioned that, especially with people in middle school. I mean, if they learn that it's important to be on time, it's important to get a chance to learn things and meet with people that can help them in the future, then that's going to be what this program can do. And I think that's what raising the wage can do as well.
Okay. And so do you use any national data or local data that can buttress your position that you're sharing with us today?
Well, Jim has all the data on ramps as a board member, and what it shows is that like 90% of our students go to college afterwards, and as he mentioned, a lot of them are able to engage employers during the high school years and end up working with them down the road. And that is sort of the ultimate success in the summer youth program, that it gives young people their first chance as a job, and then it gives them a chance to move on to a career that's going to help them long term.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Mr. Bowman, yes.
Talking with the interns themselves and the alumni, many of them would not have considered careers in high technology or social media or other things that we give them opportunities had they not seen it themselves and had they not seen people like them being successful. So let's go back to my comment in the testimony, getting young people who have been successful back into the middle schools to tell them the story is going to be critical to allow the students to dream, to see that they could be just like that. And you don't want them for closed opportunities. You want them to dream big at that stage. And I think that helps. That part of engagement, that part of inspiring the students is a critical element. And I know that our alumni are more than willing to come back and give back to the students that they were once sitting in those chairs. They know what it was like, and having someone like them come in front of them is a critical stage of that inspiration.
All right. Well, I appreciate getting testimony from both of you. And if OnRamp wants to provide us with some technical information, like some data, that would be very helpful
happy
for
to
the
do that.
record. And
We'll do
thank you
that.
both for your testimony
Thank you.
this morning. We have been informed that we have the first panel on with us. These are some of the students. And so I'll call them forward. I also understand that Councilmember Henderson is on the Zoom, and Councilmember, if you would, let me get the students in because they sent us a note saying they have to leave for class in 10 minutes. So we want to make sure that now that they're on, that we at least give them an opportunity to present, and then we'll move right to you. We have Jelani. Okay, thank you. Jelani Easton, Carmen Brito, and Aminade Miller. And do we have Carter also? And also Carter Hale. They are on the Zoom for us. All right, I'll have to do this without seeing anyone. So let's call Jelani Easton, if you could give us your testimony, please. We'll start with you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Chair Bonds and the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor. My name is Jelani Easton, and I am a 17-year-old Ward 6 resident and a senior at Jackson Reed High School. I'm a member of my school's creative writing club and plan to attend college in the fall to pursue a degree in nursing. Right now, I work as a returning youth leader with the Young Women's Project, a nonprofit organization that works with the city's youth to promote youth sexual health and mental health, alongside legislation in the city that supports youth rights. Today, I'm here to speak on the importance of young people having early work experience, as well as share my personal experience as a part of the DOES School Year Internship Program, a program that provides part-time work to 1,000 students during the school year at businesses and nonprofits, including YWP. I support all three work bills being presented today and would like to thank the committee for your work in helping the expansion of youth opportunities. At YWP, I work with other students in the Youth Mental Health Campaign, a campaign which was first launched in 2019 to strengthen school based mental health programming, reduce stigma, connect youth to meaningful resources and services, and increase access to mental health education. We work 4 to 6 hours each week as youth advocates and receive 100 plus hours of training in brain science, stress, system changes, and other issues. We then work in our schools to collect data, connect peers to resources, and educate youth while working with adult leaders and to address the youth mental health crisis. I'm saying all this to emphasize just how valuable and impactful my time with YWP has been, and it is why I'm in such strong support of early work experience for young people, and as such, why I support all three of the proposed bills. I believe that it is important for young people to have ample opportunities to work and gain work experience. Gaining access to such opportunities at a young age helps to better prepare youth for adult and young adult life. Not only are these experiences valuable for when students want to enter the workforce as adults, but many of the skills they learn can be applied in their education or everyday life. For instance, working as a youth advocate with YWP for the last 2 years has helped to increase my confidence in social skills. Through experiences such as testifying in front of committees and councils, I've gained leadership skills and learned how to take initiative in group efforts, which has helped me in school when working with others on assignments. So I find these experiences and opportunities especially valuable for young people and hope that more youth can have access to these resources and programs like YWP. That is all I have for today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We'll hear now from Carmen Brito.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, Chairwoman Anita Bonds and members of the committee. Thank you for giving me time to testify today. My name is Carmen Brito. I'm a Ward 3 resident and a senior at Jackson Reed. I'm part of the Digital Media Academy and Theater Club. I will be attending VCU in the fall, majoring in graphic design. I'm a youth advocate with the Young Women's Project, which I joined in 2021, which helps to bring leadership and the power of DCU so that they can improve systems and services. I'm here today to testify on behalf of the Parent Leave a Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024 and support the Middle School Career Plot and the Youth Work Permit Act. I worked with Young Women's Project for 3 years now since I was a sophomore, and I'm a senior focusing on mental health, education, and advocacy. This is a great example of youth taking leadership to improve the city. I'd like to share some reasons why I support this legislation as well as my experience in the workforce. I personally benefited a lot from early working. My first job was with the Summer Youth Employment Program. In 2021, I was 15, where I worked as a jewelry maker for the Department of Parks and Recreation. It taught me to make jewelry as well as teaching me to start my own business and layers of fundamentals that came with that responsibility. My next job started in 2021, where I worked with the Youth Justice Campaign with the Young Women's Project as a youth advocate under DOES, and I'm still there with the Young Women's Project. I learned mental health, like things like toxic stress and trauma, and learns ways to cope with mental health problems in a healthy way that share with youth and in my school around DC. I've learned to step out of my comfort zone as a shy, reserved young teenager. I was able to learn quickly the communication skills and strong leaderships that would take me farther than I thought I could go. By 16, I was emailing representatives, teachers, school administration, and also testifying, which was a big opportunity for me. And these are things I still do today. I'm a senior and here today testifying on why it's important for you to have access to work field and fair wages and opportunity. It'll give them in the future. There are a lot of benefits that come with youth and teenagers in the work field, but there are just a few that come to mind. My past jobs have made me become more social. I'm able to work alongside others in mental health, research, and distribution. I've learned to manage my time as well as my school life and job balance. Meeting with my boss and peers is often late, so I haven't had time. I've learned to manage my time with school and personal matters before my job, which has impacted my schedule and clearing up busy hours. I'd usually be working on schoolwork. Earning money has also been a plus, but learning to manage money is something that was a major benefit, and it's a major benefit for youth going into jobs. Managing my money has helped me become more independent in my cash and has taught me how valuable money is and how to spend it wisely, which is an important skill to learn if youth are to go into jobs earlier. Youth, like my coworkers and myself, have also responsibilities outside of our job and outside of school. For example, 120 youth in YWB are employed and paying taxes, and 11,500 are employed with the Summer Youth Employment Program. Many of us already do jobs to support our families and work on supporting ourselves, like me and many other people, with college tuition, books, or just basic educational and personal needs like paying rent or food. So having that access to wage is good. Many youth have also started to gain firsthand experience in the workplace, so they have knowledge for when they decide to step into fields and work with fields that align with their passion and interests, like internships in graphic design, architecture, marine biology. Not to mention, with enough early work experience, youth will have an easier time looking for careers and feeling confident being in a work setting and atmosphere. Overall, beginning in the workforce early allows you to get a head start on not only building themselves up for future careers, but also helps them to build respectable leadership skills that they will use in the long run and for the rest of their lives. Thank you for listening to my testimony. I look forward to working with you to pass the Pay Our Youth a Fair Wage Amendment Act and the Middle School Work Act.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you very much for your testimony. Now we'll hear from Iomene Miller. I believe she's here also. Okay. Carter Hale. Oh, maybe Carmen, it's coming on. Mr. Hale, Carter Hale.
Hello.
All right, Carter is here. Okay, go right ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Atina Bonds and members of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to testify today. My name is Carter Hale, and I live in Ward 6. I'm a junior at Basis DC Charter School and hope to one day work for the UN. I started as a peer educator at the Young Women's Project, YWP, in 2022. I joined YWP to help my community and my peers access materials and support on sexual and mental health. I'm in the Youth Health Educator program that focuses on educating peers on sexual health and reproductive justice. Today, I am here to testify in support of the B25-0744 Pay Our Youth a Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024. I also support the Middle School Career Pilot and Youth Work Permit Act. I worked for the SYEIP program in 2022 and 2023, and it allowed me to contribute greatly to my community. Sorry. contribute greatly to my community while giving me valuable knowledge about how to apply for work permits, different aspects of working for a boss, and other general knowledge about what my life will be like after graduation. I believe that increasing the minimum wage for SYIP participants will allow other young people to gain work experience that will prepare them for working in the real world like little else. These programs are helpful and give valuable skills to young people. But as someone who has been paid both $10 and $17 an hour, $17 an hour goes a lot farther. And I'm currently looking for a job next year that will pay me $17 an hour and would feel difficulty being as dedicated to only be paid the current 10, or if I was younger, the $6.25. Raising the pay for 16-year-olds would definitely make me reconsider looking for another job and allow me to work somewhere that does more for my community and for myself than other jobs in more traditional spaces such as fast food or retail. My internship with YDP through SYP has given me so much valuable knowledge and introduced me to new fields that I'm now interested in working in, such as public and health-related policy. Internships that are available to students through SYEP programs are different from many jobs available to young people, as they often build skills in a more unique work environment setting. The increase in pay is extremely relevant to ensure students are being fairly compensated for their work, which is often more community-related than more traditional high school job. And I personally have spent hours doing something only to finish it and receive money that was much less than some of my peers, when I felt my work was more impactful and just as difficult. Raising the minimum wage for freshmen and juniors is useful in ensuring that they feel fairly compensated for their work, and it is necessary for those over the age of 16 to ensure that they feel their work is valued as much as their other peers, and making sure that they are retained. Thank you for your time and consideration. Have a lovely day.
Thank you very much for your testimony as well. And now I believe, is that it? Okay. We have, we do not have Carmen Brito here, but we do have Elijah Gold Morant, another, I believe, student.
Hey, could you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, Chairwoman Bonds and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Elijah Gold-Moritz, and I'm a Ward 4 resident. I'm a junior at Jackson Reed High School. I organize and currently manage the Jackson Reed rugby team, and I wrestle for the Jackson Reed wrestling team. I joined the YWP Youth Justice Campaign in June 2023 and have been working on youth-led campaigns to restore teacher cuts and lower the voting age. Today, I am here to testify in support of the B250744 Pay Our Youth a Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024, the Middle School Career Pilot, and the Youth Work Permit Act. As a staff member at YWP, we have been very active on youth employment issues. Many of the youth staff in our program are supported by the DOES School Year Internship Program, launched in 2021, which provides a year-round internship opportunities for 1,000 students in grades 9 through 12. Students work at nonprofits, schools, government agencies, and private businesses up to 6 hours a week for 6 to 9 months and are paid $10 an hour. We are grateful to the committee for supporting youth employment and higher wages. At YWP, I work with a team of peers as part of the YWP's mental health campaign, launched in 2019 to strengthen school-based mental health programming, connect youth to services, reduce stigma, and expand access to mental health education. As youth advocates, we work 4 to 6 hours a week and receive 100+ hours of training on toxic stress, resilience building, trauma, brain science, systems change, and other issues. And we work in our schools to collect data, educate, and connect our peers to resources and work with adult leaders to address youth mental health crises. YWP is just one example of the many organizations employing young people through SYEP, providing invaluable work experiences and life lessons for young people in DC. Here are some reasons I support this legislation. First and foremost, youth need money. Not all youth are in a situation where their parents are spending in their best interests or even have extra money to give them. In many cases, youth need to make money to support themselves and buy the things they need. Also, in many situations, youth need to help support their families too. It would be great if they could just focus on school, but many youth don't have that option. SYEP makes the process of getting a job easier and gives them a fair chance. Many youth have not applied to SYEP because of the lower wages, that being $6.25 and $10. Last summer, I worked for YWP as part of SYEP. I was making $6.25, but YWP added money to those wages for its staff, so we made minimum wage. There is more motivation to work when you are making a decent amount. A lot of youth did not apply to SYEP when they made $6.25 and tried to find other jobs. For kids who support their families, they might be more inclined to get a job at, let's say, Popeyes, rather than another job that teaches them better skills but doesn't pay as much. So this legislation will help those students. Secondly, it's important for youth to work so they can develop life skills like discipline, time management, responsibility, opening a bank account, and saving money, to name a few. Being in a workplace and actually getting paid for the quality of your work puts the importance of those skills in perspective and motivates students to work harder and apply it to be more successful. I've been working for YWP since last summer, and I care deeply about the work we do. I would not be here testifying if it wasn't for YWP. It's taught me so many important skills about advocacy, local politics, mental health, youth rights, and more. There are other jobs that teach similar or just as valuable skills in SYEP. It taught me how the workplace functions, getting work done in a timely way, doing a work plan, being on time, and many of these skills are also applicable to school. But the workplace is a different level of accountability, especially if your financial well-being depends on it, and learning these skills in a work environment will make students more inclined to apply them in school as well. I would like to thank the committee for taking time to hear my testimony today. I look forward to working together in the future. We appreciate all of the work you do to increase opportunities for youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you to our virtual witnesses in particular. I know you have to run to class. I doubt if we'll be able to ask you any questions, but we do appreciate hearing from you. So thank you very much. Now I wanted to Okay. All right. Now I want to bring on Councilmember Christina Henderson. She is the author of one of our bills, the one that in particular deals with this important subject matter, which we attempted to talk a little bit about, and that is the Career Ready program, which is the Career Exploration Pilot Amendment Act. So Councilmember Henderson, you're on. Happy to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bonds, and good morning to everyone. And I really appreciated the opportunity to hear the testimony from the students. Councilmember Bonds, I appreciate you holding this hearing today on these bills, including on the bill that you mentioned, mine, the Middle School Career Exploration Pilot Amendment Act. Last July, the council passed emergency and temporary versions of this legislation to allow the program's implementation last summer. I'm enthusiastic about advancing the permanent version to ensure the continuation of the program this summer and to allow for DOES to implement year-round programming. As you know, middle school is a crucial time for children to explore and connect with opportunities within the broader community. During these years, they begin to develop skills and will be essential for their future careers and financial independence. It is vital for youth in this age group to have both access to a diverse range of hands-on experiences and opportunities to enhance both new and existing skills, not only during the summer, but throughout their school year. Since middle school students are not eligible to receive wages, as you know, as chair of the Labor Committee, this bill does allow the Department of Employment Services, however, to offer program incentives to encourage participation for this particular age group. I was pleased to work with you in the budget process to provide some additional funding for FY24 to add 50 more slots for this program this summer. And it's my hope that the initiative will continue to expand, allowing even more middle school students to have the opportunity to be exposed to career opportunities at an earlier time. So thank you so much for holding this hearing today, Councilmember Bonds.
Thank you very much. As the author of this important opportunity for our young people, I'll try to speak for all the parents. I know they're saying, yay, thank you so much for being considerate of our young folk who believe that they are quickly becoming adults, but more importantly, that they can have their place in the marketplace. So thank you so very much for that. We'll now turn, do we have any other? Okay, all right. All right, well, we have exhausted our public witness list, and we will now, and I thank our public presenters. It's great hearing from you. And of course, it's always great when we get affirmative of all the bills that we write down here. So I'll just gloat on that for a moment. And that's important because we are talking about our young people. We are talking about not just our future, but our present. And so these bills are designed to address immediate issues, issues that are generally in society, issues that can help our young folk, but also help our family units that are so precious to us in this community. So I really appreciate hearing from the young people and of course from our public, I'll say those who deal with the issues of young people's employment, young people feeling useful in society and learning how to navigate the work world. So thank you again. Now we will hear from our government witness, Dr. Unique Morris Hughes, and as she comes forward, we will welcome her. And of course, we have a battery of questions, but I think she's up to the task. So there's no issue here. But first, we have to swear her in. And if she'll raise her right hand. All right. Do you swear and affirm that your testimony and any statements made before us today to be truthful and complete?
I do.
All right, and thank you. Thank you again for being here. And you can begin when you're ready.
Wonderful. And Councilmember Bonds, when it comes time to questions, if you have specific questions for DCPS, they were kind enough to send Mr. Glenn Starnes, who is the Senior Deputy Chief of Social, Emotional, and Academic Development. So if you have questions for
All right.
him or DCPS.
All right, is he with us now?
He is.
All
He
right,
is.
Mr. Stars, can you join, yes, please join
Okay.
Dr. Hughes at the witness table. We'll swear you in if you're going to give us responses on the record. We hope we'll have some questions for you too. Okay. All right, so I'll ask you the same if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the responses that you share with us today to be truthful and correct? Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, so I'll get started with my testimony. Good morning, Chairperson Bonds, council members and staff of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor. My name is Dr. Unique Morris Hughes, and I am the Director of the DC Department of Employment Services. I am pleased to testify before you today on behalf of Mayor Muriel Bowser on 3 pieces of legislation. The first being Bill 25-353, the Middle School Career Exploration Amendment Act of 2023. The second is Bill 25-744, the Pay Our Youth a Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024, and Bill 25-745, the Youth Work Permit Modernization Act of 2024. DOES knows that providing access and exposure to career opportunities early and often can significantly impact a youth's journey. The district's made significant investments in workforce development programs for youth ages 9 to 24, such as the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program, the Marion Barry Youth Leadership Institute, the School Year Internship Program, Youth Apprenticeship, and last, the Middle School Career Exploration Program to support and advance the district's young people. Through our work, DOES provides occupational skill training, work experience, academic enrichment, and life skills to young people throughout the year. Each of the bills before committee today continues to move this important work forward, and we are proud to support all three bills. In my testimony today, I'll provide recommendations on the proposed legislation. Last year, DOES recognized that while the district's summer programming opportunities are robust, not all students can or do participate in programming because there's a gap in summer opportunities for middle school aged youth. Middle schoolers may feel that they are too old for DPR CAMs or not old enough to participate in MBS YEP. To address this gap, and with the support both of you, Councilmember Henderson, and you, Councilmember Bonds, last summer, DOES launched the Middle School Career Exploration Pilot under the authority of the Emergency and Temporary Acts. During the pilot year, DOES partnered with 9 providers to serve 1,232 youth between the ages of 9 and 13 years of age, of which 55% were from Ward 7 and 8. This program provides a diverse, hands-on, one-week experience for all participants in the areas of athletics, business, law, and global affairs, culinary arts, agricultural sciences, engineering and design, language arts, STEM, social sciences and culture, visual performance arts, and public speaking. Participants received monetary incentives from the providers for successful participation. At the end of the pilot, DOES conducted a survey of both the participants and their parents. 93% of participants affirmed that the program played a pivotal role in facilitating the acquisition of new skills, emphasizing the efficacy of the program, and fostering personal and educational developments. Parents understood the need for engaging in programming for middle school students, and both parents and participants requested that the program last longer. Middle School Career Exploration Amendment Act of 2023 would permanently establish the Career Ready Early Scholars Program for youth ages 9 to 13, requiring DOES to provide programs over the summer for youth to gain occupational skills, academic enrichment life skills, career exploration, work readiness, or attend youth development trainings. The bill will also allow DOES to provide the same programming during the school year. CRESS has already received applications from over 950 youth, and the summer program will begin on June 24th. The pilot last summer was clearly effective in laying the foundation for the opportunities necessary to create positive, long-term employment outcomes. As you're aware, the Temporary Act expires on July 10th, and we are respectfully asking that the council enact this bill in time to provide DOES with the authority to implement this program fully throughout the upcoming summer. The Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program is a locally funded initiative that provides district youth ages 14 to 24 with an enriching summer employment experience through subsidized placement in the public and private sectors. Through MBS YEP, DOES strives to provide young people with the opportunity to earn money and gain meaningful work experience, learn and develop the skills, attitudes, and commitments necessary to succeed in today's world of work, gain exposure to various exciting career industries, and interact with dynamic working professionals in a positive work environment. Next month, we'll launch the 45th year of MBS YEP, serving 12,000 district youth between the ages of 14 to 24 from June 24th until August 2nd. In addition to the traditional work that youth will engage in over 700 plus host sites, youth will also receive financial literacy coaching and complete a capstone project. The Pay Our Youth a Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024 increases the wages for youth participating in MBS YEP. Youth ages 14 to 15 will go from $6.25 an hour to $10 per hour for 20 hours a week. And youth ages 16 to 21 will go from $9 an hour to minimum wage, which will be $17.50 per hour for 25 hours a week. DOES supports the intent of the legislation and be prepared to implement any increases in the future. However, it is important to emphasize that these increases to wages should not impact the number of youth served through the program. MBS YEP remains the largest summer youth employment program per capita in the country. And for the past 5 years, DOES has served approximately 12,000 youth in MBS YEP each year, and it is vital that we maintain the service level at a minimum. As stated in a prior independent evaluation, if measured merely by the required metrics within this evaluation, the participant employer experience is beneficial to both the host employers and the participants. However, the return on investment in the district's youth and community is unquantifiable yet undeniable. For 45 years, MBS YEP has provided thousands of district youth the opportunity to earn while they learn and explore potential career paths. It would be a true disservice to district residents if we limit the reach of this life-changing program. And finally, the Youth Work Permit Modernization Act of 2024 modernizes the district's child labor law, which has not been amended since 1976. The bill is timely as the United States Department of Labor has launched a national strategic enforcement initiative on child labor. Since 2019, DOL investigations have found an 88% increase in children being employed in violation of the child labor provisions of the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. In fiscal year 2023, DOL found that 955 of the employers it investigated had violated child labor laws impacting nearly 5,800 children. Under the current archaic framework, a youth between the ages of 14 and 17 seeking to work for a DC employer must obtain a work permit from DC Public Schools, regardless of where the youth attends school or if the youth resides outside of the district. The Youth Work Permit Modernization Act of 2024 shifts the responsibility of issuing work permits to eligible youth seeking to work for a DC employer from DCPS to DOES, the district state labor agency. The bill also provides DOES with the enforcement authority. This shift in responsibility to the district's labor agency is aligned with how our neighboring jurisdictions, Maryland and Virginia, and how states across the country issue youth work permits. DOES is invested in ensuring that our youth have access to job opportunities that are safe and do not jeopardize their health, well-being, or educational opportunities. While DOES is excited to take on this work, we do have recommendations for how to approach this moving forward. If we were to operationalize this bill, DOES would create a simple online application where the youth ages 14 to 17 would provide their name, address, phone number, and their employer information, the name of the supervisor, and the duties of the job. A work permit would be automatically generated that the youth would print out. A valid work permit would need to include the signatures of the youth, parent of the youth, and the employer, each attesting that the youth's birth date is verified and that they understand the provisions of the work permit. The employer is then responsible for maintaining the work permit on site and required to submit copies of all work permits to DOES on a quarterly basis. DOES would use these quarterly submissions to audit the employers to ensure compliance. Under DOES's recommendations, the onus shifts from DCPS to employers to verify the youth's birth date and understand the limitations on hours they can work under the law. This is consistent with employers' current responsibilities under federal law. Employers are required to ensure they are only hiring individuals who are legally allowed to work and must verify the identity and employment authorization of each person they hire. In bringing the youth work permitting process under DOES, the major focus of resources will be on enforcement and not on the front-end application process. DOES is versed in enforcing wage and hour laws, appearing before OAH in appeals, and working with both OAG and the federal government on larger complex cases. DOES values our young people, and we remain committed to ensuring that we are growing skills and introducing youth to experiences that will increase opportunities to safely enter the district's workforce. I look forward to working with you and the council and to continue our valuable partnership with district businesses, employers, educators, workers, and residents, including our youth, to drive workforce development, economic progress, and get our youth trained so they can pursue career opportunities that will shape their life. This concludes my testimony, and I'm happy to address any questions that you may have at this time about the three bills before us. And like I said, in addition, with me today is Mr. Glenn Starnes II, who is the Senior Deputy Chief at DCPS for Social, Emotional, and Academic Development Strategy, who can also answer questions about DCPS's current work permit process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that very robust testimony. I do have a few questions, of course. And thank you, Mrs. Stars, for being here with us. We do want to know about this work permit process that we have. Let's talk a minute about the middle school plan. Currently, you indicated that the participants receive monetary incentives. Can you put on the record what that means and what the amount is?
Sure.
Okay,
They receive $125 a week per week for a total of 3 weeks as a monetary incentive to fully participate in the Career Ready Early Scholars Program.
all right. And so when we think about 3 weeks of this expiration, if we were able to extend it through the summer, what does that look like? Are we now talking maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks? Or what do you think makes sense, given how the summer employment program operates?
Yeah, so what would make the most sense is to align it with the time frame of the Summer Youth Employment Program, which the start date is June 24th. SYEP is a 6-week program, so aligning it for 6 weeks makes the most sense.
Okay, great. And you said is provided for successful participation. Does that mean that everyone who enrolls and somewhat attends, or does it require perfect attendance in order to be considered successful participant?
Yeah, well, we want participants that are going to do more than somewhat attend. We do ask for full attendance and participation, but we do know that people become ill or get sick. And so we do make some accommodation for attendance, but our expectation is full participation.
All right, so then any budgeting that we're thinking of would include the full, let's say, 6 weeks of remittance at the rate of a 125 per week is what you're thinking.
Yes, ma'am. That would be
All
correct.
right. And so if we were to get emergency legislation through in the next couple of weeks, would that assist, or would that be what would be required? And would we then have the pay, this stipend amount to accommodate young people?
So, I mean, if there was additional funding that was made available, we have the infrastructure to ramp up pretty quickly. And so that is possible. We had about 1,000 applications in 48 hours of the application opening. So we know that the interest and need is there, and there are young people and their parents, and you'd be surprised how many grandparents call us and stop me and say they want their grandchild in the program. We have the interest and support of the community. We could scale up pretty quickly if the budget was available.
All right, and so to reach that budget amount, let's say we were able to manage, you're currently doing about 300, correct?
280, yes.
Yeah, okay, 280. Let's say if we were able to move to 600. What is the current budgeted amount for the 280? Maybe I should ask that first.
So for the 280, I believe it's $780,000 that we are spending this year. I will have to have my team check that that is, yes, okay, so 780,000 for 280 young people for 3 weeks.
All right. Do I dare try to do the math here on the dais? No,
So
but
if you, want to replicate the same number, if you want to extend it for, another 3 weeks, essentially it's 780, thousand
more.
more.
Okay, all right. That gives us an idea. And if we were to, and this is very hypothetical, if we were to look for that money within DOES, you knew I was going to ask this.
I knew you were gonna ask
Yes,
that.
you knew that. So are there places that we can legitimately look for money?
Uh,
Given that contracting is kind of like suspended at this point, as we get closer to September 30th. Just wondered if there may be some places we can look.
I have already looked, and I have looked under every box and conference room and spreadsheet and formula embedded in a spreadsheet to see if I can find extra dollars, and I haven't found any yet. But as we get closer to the end of the fiscal years and we shake the trees a bit, sometimes a few dollars fall from the tree. So maybe, there might be a couple of dollars, but for the most part, there is not any additional funding to support the program.
All right, okay. All right, well, yesterday, the council did its first vote on the local expenditure budget and the support budget. And so perhaps I can look inside those two documents, and particularly the expenditure one, and see what we can find. I'm impressed that we have a waiting list. And quite honestly, I think having the whole family going out to learn new skills and participate in the marketplace would be very significant for any family. So I commit to looking. I don't know if we'll find anything, but I think we will. And so, of course, now let me ask you, Mr. Stark, you may listen. We were so very generous with DC Public Schools. Surely this is important to the goals and objectives of educating our young people, our students. Surely you got a couple of million just hanging there, wanting to be used in this matter.
Thank you, Councilmember Bonds, for that question. I think, we at DCPS will work closely with our team, who's here to identify how we are to support.
All right, do you currently have an MOU with DOES so that this transfer of dollars could be facilitated?
Now listen,
Position to make that commitment on behalf of DCPS.
the chancellor let him come today. I can't get him in trouble with the
Yeah.
chancellor, and I don't want the chancellor to text me. Dr. Farabee has been such an amazing partner. We have a handful of MOUs in which we partner for SYEP and the school year internship. We don't have a MOU for the middle school program, but I'm confident that there are lots of many ways that we can partner with DCPS, but I can't let Dr. Farabee call the both of us and say, what are you doing here? You just committed a few $1 million. So I can't let him do that, but we can talk about ways to partner.
Right. I appreciate your sympathy, but Mr. Stars, what do you think about this? I mean, come on, you're in the driver's seat now.
Yeah, I think as my colleague mentioned, we will work very closely to just talk through systems and processes and identify ways in which we can continue to collaborate as we think about expanding those offerings.
So is it your testimony, because you're testifying now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it your testimony that the public schools see the merit of this program and would like it to continue and are committing to doing all that you can this year to make sure that it can be extended to additional young people, if not to 6 weeks, but certainly to 3 weeks for additional young people. Being with the ability to remove some on the wait list and put them into participation.
So at this time, I don't think we at DCPS can commit to that, given that our budget is set.
Uh-huh, okay, all righty. Well, I do appreciate at least trying to get you you into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
But you know it's gonna happen. Okay. I appreciate it. On the Pay Our Youth a Fair Summer Wage, you indicated, Dr. Hughes, that, the new approach is that the participants will receive financial literacy coaching. What is that? Is that like a one meeting in the during the entire summer 6 weeks program, or is that sort of like a unit where there is ongoing instruction as it relates to financial literacy?
So we have included financial literacy in the last 15 years of the program. This year, we're really highlighting it. Matter of fact, through Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund, we have been receiving a grant over the last, I think, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years, funding to support financial literacy. But this year, we really want to elevate it and highlight the importance of financial literacy. So it shows up in a few different ways. One, there is a module that we make available online that is focused on banking. Second, we partner with DSBY, and we have a group called the Young Money Managers, and they educate young people on how to manage their money. Third, we also invite the DC Federal Credit Union and encourage our young people and parents to sign up for a non-custodial credit union account. So all of these activities we're highlighting and putting an emphasis on. We want folks to be smart with their money.
All right, so those are the embellishments of the program
Yes.
that you indicate have been operating for about 15 years. Okay, talk to us about the capstone and your completion of a capstone project this year. What could that be?
Yeah, so we have some young people at both DCPS and public charter schools that we're allowing them to earn and learn. And so many of these capstone projects are a workforce development project where at the conclusion of the summer, they will create a project or an activity. I mean, it could be anything from a poster presentation about the importance of mentoring or an industry they're working on to, something that's grounded in occupational skills. But we want young people to highlight what they're actually learning and how it's connected to the world of work.
All right, and so can I get a list of the activities that you anticipate that might be under this capstone title?
Yes.
Maybe we could get that. Can we get it by next Wednesday?
Before.
Okay.
Yes. And we'll also highlight for you the financial literacy activities that were.
That would be
elevated.
great. That would be great. All right. Thank you. You also mentioned in your testimony that whatever the arrangements are as it relates to that comes out of this bill, 25744, Pay Our Youth a Fair Summer Wage, that you did not want it to impact the number of youth that are served through the program. And customarily, you've served about 12,000.
Correct.
Is there potential two-part question. Is there potential to serve 15,000 this year? Just as a question, really. I know registration is closed.
Yes,
But-
so, I mean, we have the ability to serve more young people if the budget is available to do so. Serving 15,000 young people at an increased wage, which is proposed in the bill,
Right.
has a very large price tag for this summer.
And so does serving, I guess, 12,000 have a large price tag for this.
It
Yeah,
does.
okay.
It does. And so I think everyone would agree that, you know, an increased wage is a nice to have. But we run the risk of serving fewer young people if the wage is increased and the budget remains constant.
Gotcha. All right. And so, did you have a wait list today for the summer program?
So we're currently certifying people.
Okay.
I will follow up with you on the number of
Please.
people that are on the wait list, but we do have a delta between the number that have applied and those that have actually certified to be in the program.
All right. And so would you, the information that you provide us with, could you break it into the categories, the word categories that you
Yeah,
have?
like,
The age categories, yes.
yes, we
Okay.
can.
Thank you. I appreciate your plan to create the simple online application for Bill 25745, the work permit. Wanted to, and I love the fact that you're going to have everyone sign on to it. All of this is done electronically.
Yep.
That's what I understand. But would there be any opportunity for young people to come to, let's say, DOES, you know, to do in person? Sometimes not everyone will understand how to do that signature process.
Yeah, I mean, we would make a staff person available to provide technical assistance or help walk through the application process.
Okay, so they could actually do in-person
Yes, we would make
process as well.
a staff, yes. But what we are talking about here is something that's very easy and seamless and that you could do on your smartphone or your tablet. And so our hope is that we will minimize the need of people actually physically coming in to do it, but we will dedicate a staff person to be
Okay.
available in person.
All right, well, we're talking about our school kids. We're talking about our young people who are primarily, many are in DC public schools. I don't know about the charter schools, but I do know about the public schools. And I also know that, Mr. Sars, we cannot find a budget line that speaks to our young people having the opportunity to get a tablet or a laptop. And here we are at summertime. So what do we do about that? Because you're hearing that DOES can accommodate them if they have the equipment. Should we be sending everyone to the public libraries and saying, well, just go there? Or do we feel that our young folks should have a laptop?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Councilmember Bonds. And so currently at DCPS, we do provide our students with access to technology throughout the school year. In our current process, as we think about youth work permits, we do have points of contacts in our schools. And in this proposed opportunity, we would still maintain school-based staff members who will be able to assist students through that online process in the regular school day at our school sites.
All right, so can you please provide, this committee, provide me with the location, the school location, and the name of the individual that can help with this process that is already, as you indicated, doing this, providing an opportunity for young people to get their permits.
So clearly, the name of the points of contacts in each school,
Yes, yes, please.
Got it.
Okay,
Yes,
that
we-
would be very helpful.
we can provide that information.
And then we also have Parks and Rec and libraries that young people and their families can access computers at those places as well.
I know, but they're not here. I can only talk with public schools because they are so kind to be here, but in
Yeah.
parks. So that's how we're
Uh-huh.
we're
And
moving, but I
Councilmember
hear you.
Barnes,
I understand.
I can
Yeah.
also say in our American Job Center, we have a bank of computer labs, and any American Job Center, a young person, their parent, guardian, an adult can go with them to the American Job Center and get support from any of our workforce development specialists that we have.
All
So
right.
lots of touch points.
All right. I'm going to make sure that my staff attempts to take advantage of all of these, outlets or points of contact, just to check them out. Yesterday during our hearing, there was some discussion about, we were talking about, the sports gaming. And one of my colleagues pointed out, well, you can only use that particular app at that location, this particular location within the city. It was not yet mobile. Another colleague said, oh, but it is mobile. Other colleagues said, hey, I gamble, I know. So that's why I'm saying I'll have staff to go and we'll just see how it works, because that happens to us also here in the Wilson building. My staff throughout the day, their computer system may go down and they have to start all over again. So just want to kind of know what the kinks are, because you and I know that any little glitch can turn people off and cause our young folk to no longer believe in us, the older folk, and the society. So just trying to work through all of that.
Understood.
Yeah, so thank you. Dr. Hughes, you said that you see DOES on this issue of work permits being more of the enforcer, making sure that when there is a violation of child labor laws, that you would be able to, how do you see that happening? What would be the protocol that you might use for that?
Sure. And to clarify, what I'm saying is that it is my belief that this is best positioned in the state workforce agency, labor agency. And so the investment that we would want to make isn't necessarily on the beginning part of the process, because technology has a way for us to be even more efficient. Where we see the real investment is on the enforcement action. And so the first, I think, really important enforcement component is that quarterly employers would have to submit their signed valid work permits to DOES. We already have a desk audit procedure in place in our labor law enforcement team. And so they know how to look at labor law compliance issues and audit through a random sample quarterly. Where there is violations, and we hope that there is not, but if there is violations, we would have the ability to make referrals to OAG. We also have a history of working very closely with OAG, U.S. Department of Labor, and going before OAH on labor law, non-compliance issues. So we think that the enforcement component would be synonymous to what we're already doing in labor law enforcement now.
All right, so when we talk about the labor law and the enforcement, I guess I'm concerned where you may receive paperwork that's all in order, and it indicates that a 16 or 17-year-old can do certain things, they can work. But are you also thinking it would be important to do on-site inspections
Oh,
to
yeah.
see if that's what they're doing, or?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's a whole enforcement protocol. So
Uh-huh.
we currently go on site. If we get an anonymous tip, first of all, there is a tip line. You can make an anonymous tip. You can disclose who you are and make a tip. We will go out and make site visits at the request of constituents and businesses and families. Or we can do it like a random audit and site visit. So we have an entire protocol, and perhaps what we can do is just share with you at a very high level of what our approach to enforcement is.
I think that would be very helpful because I feel like this will be perhaps a new approach for our young people. And I'd like for us to start off clearly explaining to families what can happen. As you know, over the last, since the pandemic, there's been this huge increase of child in labor activities across the country. And probably not so much in a place like an urban area, the Washington, DC, but certainly in some occupations, I can see it. And we heard from our young people today indicating, listen, I need the money. I'm helping to support my family. So it becomes more like everyone has signed on to this process, whatever it may be, because the need is there. And people tend to skirt when the need is more pressing than the regulation. So I've just wondered if you do have any on-site, what the regularity of that might be, and what are you looking for? So yes, if you could share that, it would be very helpful.
We will. And in the labor law enforcement community, it's called strategic or proactive enforcement. And so the idea is that you front load training and education at the beginning of enforcement. You notify people, you educate the community before you go directly into enforcement. And so our thought process here is that we would do just that, similar to what we already do. With labor enforcement posters and flyers, webinars, but we would front load the education and training component first before we just go out and issue a fine.
Of course. I'm very sure you would be very thorough. I think too, then we need to include in this law provision where we would insist that the law be posted at any retail or corporate commercial hiring enterprise and the nonprofits that do this, that also hire our young people, so that everyone's clear as to what the regulations are.
I think, and we'll have someone double check and see if they can find for me quickly. But there is, every state and jurisdiction has a labor law poster. I think there is some language on the poster about the outdated law that we're trying to reform.
Yeah.
We'll double check and make sure that's the case. If not, we can make sure it is included.
All right. Well, yes. And I'd like to see this poster you're speaking of. I remember many years ago seeing such a poster when we were pushing the requirement to make sure that businesses posted about their labor laws. So that's probably what you're speaking of. But I'm saying we're at a point where if we're going to build this society, it seems to me we need to put a little more emphasis on our young people. They are a precious part of our society, which we kind of, let's just sort of treated them a little differently in past years. But now, they're more mature, earlier, et cetera, et cetera. So it just seems to me might want to, we'll play around with what we can get, and based on also the information that you are able to share with us.
Noted.
So thank you so much for that. Of course, I have a bunch of real questions now. We were just we were just chatting. Now we're ready to get into. Of course, you knew that this would happen. Okay. And we have been joined by, perhaps I should stop. I don't want to be rude to my colleague who took the time to join us here on the dais. Councilmember Zachary Parker, representing the outstanding, extraordinary community of Ward 5 that I also live in. So he's my representative. I'll give you some time to become familiar, please.
Thank you, Chairperson Bonds. It is great to be here. I'm excited to talk more about one of the bills for today's hearing, the Pay Our Youth a Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2024 that I introduced with you, Councilmember Bonds. And the goal of this legislation is pretty straightforward. It is to pay what I think is a fair wage to our young people that are participating in the district youth employment program. Am I good with questions right now? Or just a statement?
No, you please go ahead.
Okay,
This is your
great.
time. Thank you.
Okay, great. The spirit of the legislation and the reason why it's important for us to increase pay for participation in the youth employment program is because our young people need the money. There are also many negative influences out there and temptations and wrong paths for our young people to go down. And quite frankly, I think the government needs to explore alternative ways of allowing young people and their families to meet their basic needs and engage in productive acts. And so with that, Director, I wanted to just jump in, but before I do, I want to just level set. The legislation would raise the pay for youth ages 14 and 15 from $6.25 to $10 per hour. This adjustment acknowledges the increased cost of living and aims to provide a substantial financial reward for our young people's dedication and hard work. The legislation would also raise the pay for youth above 16 years old to the minimum wage, currently $17 per hour, to incentivize older youth to actively participate in the SYEP program. And so some may be surprised to know that we do not currently pay young people participating in these very popular programs, even the minimum wage, at a time where we're seeing youth violence skyrocket, at a time where other negative behaviors are on the rise for our young people. And by no means am I excusing it or justifying it, but the reality is engaging young people in more productive acts would tamper down on that. Director, my first question would be, how much money is needed to maintain current rates of participation and to honor the spirit of this legislation, which would increase the pay for youth ages 14 to 15 to $10 and for youth ages 16 and older to the minimum wage of $17?
So if we keep the current service levels, it would be about $8.9 million. And that's to pay youth that are 14 to 15, $10 an hour, 16 to 20, 16 to 24, $17.50 an hour.
17. Got it. And how many participants are there currently in the program? I know we spoke a while ago. At that time, you all were in the midst of enrolling or accepting applicants. And so now that that's been confirmed, how many participants do you anticipate for this summer's program?
Thank you. So we had over 21,000 applications. I have, as of this week, 9,610 that have certified. They've completed all of their paperwork, all of their banking information, and are ready to go. And the delta from that number is how many more that could certify. But our service funding level is about 12,000, and we're statutorily required to serve at least 10,000 with a minimum or no more than 900 22 to 24-year-olds.
So you have enough funding for about 12,000 participants, and right now you have 9,610 certified.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Have there been any efforts internally to either examine the pay for young people participating in the SYEP program or even increase the pay?
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about it all of the time because we hear from families all of the time. But we're in a really difficult position. If we raise the pay, we will serve less based on what the budget that we have. Or if we try to maintain the same service level, it will require additional money.
Yes.
So given where we're at in this point of the fiscal year, we're in formulation, it makes the most sense for us, given what we have, to keep the same pay rate and maintain the service level.
If there was a world in the future where perhaps we could find more money, would this type of pay increase be something that DOES would support?
I mean, DOES will implement the law. And so we support young people earning money. We generally support a higher wage. We don't think that the number of young people served should be to pay the higher wage. There's so much need and so much
And I agree
interest.
with that.
So
And I
you
agree
missed
with
the
that.
first round of questions in our middle school program, which isn't really funded. We've had over 1,000 applications in 48 hours for 280 slots. And they're only getting $125 a week. So yes, we will serve more. We have the infrastructure. We just don't want to decrease the service level.
The number of participants. And that, I believe, I don't want to speak for Chairperson Bonds, but that's certainly something I agree with. As we discussed, we had entertained moving this legislation on an emergency basis earlier on. We slowed it down because we didn't want to negatively impact the program. And the spirit of the legislation is to better reward our young people who are participating in the program. And so it's something that certainly is a priority for me moving forward as just yet another tool in our toolkit of engaging our young people in more productive activities. A few more questions.
Sure.
For participants, how are you evaluating the placements? And by that meaning, I know there are a number of job placements for the program. From year to year, how are you evaluating whether or not a placement is a success or maybe that's not the right fit next year for us?
Yep. So we have over 700 host sites that participate in the program. Every year we do an annual independent evaluation. And so we have our independent evaluator survey all the participants and all of the host sites. And we're able to gain really valuable information about the experience there. Now, I will tell you, I have been known over the last 8 years to go out and do random visits myself. If I hear any concerning information, if there are any flags, I will close a site. I'm always thinking about what's in the best interest of young people and their families. And I remind my staff that parents, grandparents, and community members place their trust in us. So our responsibility is to make sure during that engagement, we get the kids there safely and we get them back home safely. So I will close down a site that is not effective, but we do surveys and evaluations. I forgot to mention, I have about 20 summer staff that do at least one site visit to every single site to make sure that they're not only compliance with our program standards, but basic labor laws as well.
And I know per our earlier conversations, participation tends to dwindle over the summer. Some of that may be understood based on vacations or travel or other means, but from your assessment, what explains the declining participation over the summer for the young people?
So glad you asked me that because I was going to tell you, which is that we think that the higher minimum wage, that young people are going to work at other places that have a higher minimum wage. Now, what's important to note there is that budgeting for student participation and attrition is both a science and an art.
Mhm.
So if we increase the wage, we can expect, we believe in our best professional opinion, that we'll see a decrease in attrition. I'm not suggesting that's bad, but we believe that will be the impact. But higher wages and, sick or other commitments or other camp opportunities come up, and young people and their families make different decisions.
That's not surprising that young people would say, hey, I want to go to this job where I can earn more. But I hear you that you're budgeting now, which anticipates that declining participation would need to be tweaked, because you probably wouldn't see such a steep decline if students were, young people were earning more as part of the program.
Correct.
Okay, the last thing, and this is tangential to this legislation, but there's been talk more recently about the Attorney General's efforts to revamp DYRS, and I'm going somewhere with this. And one of the things he's pushing for is for the agency to have rehabilitation plans for every young person, because there's such a high rate of recidivism for young people. I don't want to say enrolled, that are at DYRS. Do you all at all track participation in SYEP or other programs that you run for young people that may be wound up in DYRS or other criminal justice agencies?
We work directly with DYRS to make referrals. So we do track those participants that we receive referrals from DYRS. So we know who they are.
So you
Where they're
make
at.
referrals to DYRS?
I'm sorry, they make referrals to us.
Got it. And that's what I was going to get at with this program, but others. Part of that rehabilitation plan, I would imagine, needs to be around how can this young person earn money without carjacking, robbing, drug dealing, the many things that I'm assuming juveniles are being locked up at DYRS for.
So I will say that youth rehabilitation isn't necessarily the hat that I wear. I would expect, and it holds this sentiment holds true with adults. We have to have someone at their most optimal state in order to place them at a work site. So it's not
Yes.
necessarily that they're in crisis and they need to earn money because they're in crisis. There might be some other mental health and some other factors. And so we want to make sure that whoever we are referring is ready and prepared, or we're receiving referrals from is ready and prepared for work. And that's with DYRS, that's with CFSA, it's with DCPS, it's with MPD. So I would just keep that in mind. I somewhat reject the idea that they're in crisis and so they need to go out and work and make money, because you have to be prepared to work and make money. And if you're not prepared and we send you to an employer, it could potentially damage and the current relationship with employer if the person is not ready and presents as being ready for work.
I received that. And I don't think that's just about young people. All people need to be ready to
Yes.
work when they go to a place of employment. But I do think, just given the inflection point the district is at, DOES could be playing, and this isn't a criticism, this is more of a vision for how do we meet this moment. I do think DOES could do more to help bridge the gap between where our young people are in crisis and putting them on a path towards a more productive life. And it has to be around making money and getting their certifications and or high school diplomas and degrees and all the things. And that might mean that we establish a program for young people in crisis, knowing that they're not ready to go to a job, but this is part of a step trying to get them on the right path. So I'm just throwing that out there. I will continue to work with my colleague, Councilmember Bonds. I take to heart what the Attorney General is trying to do. But a rehabilitation plan on paper is one thing. Actualizing it in reality and getting a young person on the right path is another. And I think DOES has a huge role to play and us actually bringing that to life.
I would say that I think DOES plays a very substantive and significant role currently, both in the workforce, education, and public safety systems. Anybody who is in crisis, whether it's substance abuse or mental health, there is always this it's more than an idea, but it's actually action. We connect people to training and we connect people to employment. I think that there has to be, work done on connecting someone to, or just ensuring that they're ready for employment in this plan that you're talking about for DYRS. We also do individualized plans. So when you walk into an American Job Center, there's an objective assessment. We want to know what your skills are. We want to understand what your interests. There's nothing worse than placing someone in an opportunity and they have no desire or interest to work there. And so it seems like there's different assessments. I think what could be beneficial here is if there's a discussion about what happens in the workforce system and the assessments that we're doing and how we're determining if someone is ready for work and making sure it's complementary with whatever is proposed with DYRS.
Yes. Okay, I'm over time. If I could just ask one last question. Does DOES have an incubator or prep program for young people or anybody that may need to acquire those soft skills? And I don't love that phrase, soft skills, but to show up on time. And this is how you should dress. And these are the things you should and shouldn't say in a professional work environment. And because one of the things I hear repeatedly from business owners in Ward 5 and across the district is we need more talent. We want to hire, but we need people to come ready to work.
Yes.
And I'm sensitive to that, but who is grooming them, preparing them,
I mean, we
training
even
them?
have a clothes closet. We even have a whole,
So
can
you
get
do have a
outfitted.
program that would like build a runway for them to acquire the skill sets necessary to hold a 9-to-5 job.
Every single one, we have a model, and every single one of our programs fits this model where I call them essential skills or everyday skills.
I like
but
essential skills
you
better
have-
than soft skills.
Yeah, you have substantive, it's not like a day, substantive essential skill trainings. And it's more than how do you show up to work on time or what do you wear? It's you disagree with what your coworker is saying. How do you talk through it? Or when do you
And so
not?
that is a program that is
It's-
currently running.
It's embedded in every single one of our workforce development programs in the agency,
I got you.
even SYEP. There's
So if
modules
I
and
met a young
components.
person that I wanted to gain entry into one of those programs, we could just send them your way.
You can send them my way, and we run a special 18 to 24-year-old program, our out of school youth program, where those components are included as well. And I think that's potentially the target population that DYRS may be serving, maybe. But yes, we actually had a quite large grant with Martha's Table. And you can go to Martha's Table and you get a spending allowance on clothes to wear to make sure you're prepared. I mean, you name it, we do it on soft skills, or essential skills to make sure that someone is ready in every sense of the word, how they show up, how they talk, how they even think and approach an interview. We tell people the questions to ask on interviews. We've left no stone unturned.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, Director.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for being so generous with the clock, Councilmember Bonds.
Thank you very much. You were hitting on some of the concerns that I had. In fact, I was going to hit the nail right on the head and talk about how do you accommodate our young people that are truant.
How do we accommodate young people that are truant?
Yes.
So let's unpack that a little bit.
Mhm.
Because I'm not convinced that if you are truant and not attending school, that you should be in a DOES program as a substitute or in place of, and I'm not suggesting that's what you're alluding to. But we want to make sure that we are following the lead and the best practices of my, sister agencies in the education cluster. So we wouldn't necessarily automatically enroll and accommodate a person who is truant.
All right, well, I suspect that there are many that enroll in the summer program, as an example, who or maybe are even involved in your year-round student program that are absent here and there.
Sure.
And some may even be borderline, ready to be brought to CFSA. I'm asking these questions because one of the mayor's most recent proposals is that instead of those that have chronic attendance issues going to CFSA, that maybe that referral would go to the Department of Human Services. And there's been a talk as to that might make sense, but I'm wondering if it does. I'm wondering if we need to look at this issue a little more holistically and try to get at maybe why a young person might be truant. I know there are family circumstances that could generate this, but it could also be, since everyone is talking today and for months about the issue of young people being involved in issues simply because they want the money. And so your program is one that provides money to a young person. I was just wondering if you've given any thought as to there being some motivation that perhaps as you have data and you get referrals to the summer employment program, if those individuals who are referred would also have an opportunity to have maybe a mental health module, as you call it, introduced to that so that we can begin to really help the whole kid.
Yeah.
The whole person.
And, I think someone had mentioned to me that there were a few folks suggesting that DOES should be one of the, hubs or places or agencies that truant families should, or families and students that are truant should connect to. We want to be supportive and helping anyone overcome any barriers and challenges they have. And so I'm open to discussions about what that would look like. And I haven't ruled anything out. I don't think it makes sense for DOES to play the primary receiving agency here, because we are the state and labor workforce development agency of the district. But I certainly want to partner and would support any district resident overcome any barriers, including truancy and what is the driving factor of truancy.
Well, I appreciate that. And so here we go talking about kicking the can again and again. And I really think just from your last battery of responses that you are primed for the pump to really get involved in this, knee deep in this. And we're looking for solutions. We have a big problem. What is it? Almost 48% of our high schoolers do not choose to be in school. It affects so much of the whole, not just the education ecosystem, but just our family unit and ultimately the city's ecosystem. And so we've got to start somewhere. And unfortunately, finances, the glow of gold is prevalent in this equation. And so we have to think about how can we help young people to learn skills and at the same time have the remittance in their pockets that will help them to stay in the training programs, to learn skills, to even learn reading, math. I mean, a literacy rate, we don't have to talk about those things. We don't want to talk about that, but it's, I mean, there are some real issues. And we have to begin to address them. And we can't just throw, money in a system to the problem. If the glow is gold, we got to start getting the gold in the pockets of those who believe that this is going to help them move forward until they can learn that it's a little more than that you also need the skill set. So I'm very, very intrigued with and happy to hear that you are open to that. I believe that the EOM would be open to that as well. And so I think we really ought to pursue how we treat those young people that have been identified as having certain kinds of issues. But of course, the first thing is to get them to understand, come to SYEP as a starter, sign up in your school before you decide you might want to drop out for a month. Sign up and let's see if we can't help you to think about vocation and where you might want to be fit in society. That's what I'm most concerned with, and thinking about how DOES can be a better partner to our public school system. And ultimately, of course, to our charter system. They have some responsibility. They just won't show us their budgets. But, I won't go there. That's not my domain, but I do have concerns about that. But our school system is integral to helping us have solutions. But likewise, we cannot let DOES be on the sidelines. You really do have to be partners. And that's why I think we're blessed to have both in this one, conglomerate, so to speak, looking at the family unit and how the family unit can develop. And I say family, I am not speaking so much of the traditional family. I'm speaking of the adult and the child. And how do we grow that unit into meaningful success in our community? That's where I'm coming from. So what is the targeted population for the summer employment program as a starter?
So it's 14 to 24-year-old.
I got the ages, but
yeah.
I mean, is it those that, I'll ask, have you looked at data or collected data that would suggest that schools with strong attendance are the schools where you get the early applications for the summer program? Do we have any? I'm trying to understand the correlation between all this information we have floating out here and how we're really using it.
I don't have an analysis by school on truancy rates and applications. We have not ventured down that path. I mean, perhaps I could ask the independent evaluator if there is an analysis that they can do, but that is not an analysis that we conduct annually.
All right. Who is your independent evaluator? Is it
usually,
company?
I mean, it's based on whoever wins the contract.
Okay.
So I
we'll
don't
check
know
on
who the evaluator is this year.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's been finalized, but we'll find out.
Okay. Is that a annual contract or every 2 years or with option years?
I mean, I think in the past we may have done option years, but I believe right now it's an annual contract.
Okay.
We'll get the details of that and confirm
right.
for you and your team.
Okay. All right. I have in my standard questions, can you provide an update on the unpaid SYEP participants from last year? How many went unpaid because they, I guess, of poor attendance primarily?
How many SYEP youth went unpaid? I don't have knowledge that I have SYEP youth that were not paid. You mean like they just didn't receive a paycheck from DOES?
Yes.
I don't have any knowledge that I have people out there who have not received payment for last
Okay.
summer.
So I know you collect data at the end of each season. Is it prepared in a report format? I mean, data from the participants themselves, or how does one learn what the participants felt about 2023 participation in
Yes.
the program?
So we have demographic, ward, area of interest. We have a whole host of questions on the surveys, and it's in the independent evaluation report that we make available every year.
All right. And did we receive one from 2023, or has that been completed?
I think, no, the 2023 evaluation is done. I think it's still going through the IQ or through a process. So I know it's completed. The evaluation was done by the evaluator. I will find the status of the report and we'll share it with you.
Yes, please do. And also 2022 would be very
Will do.
helpful to give us a
Okay.
sense of, where we think we're headed. I think you answered those. Just a little few questions about the youth work permit. Let's see, I think we may have answered those already. I tend to like to have discussion more than, 1, 2, 3, 4, because I feel that it brings understanding to what your answers are. How many contractors do you currently have waiting to participate in the middle school career program? I know that your staff is not the administrator you don't bring the kids in. So-
Yes, we have 7 contractors this year, or grantees this year, that are running the program for us.
Okay, and you call them grantees?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so for the summer employment program, do you have grantees or do you call them just work sites?
We have both.
Ah.
We have through Human Care Agreements, which is through our Office of Contract and Procurement. We have a series of contractors there that provide services for us. We have host sites which are not paid, they're strictly volunteer, like your office. And then for specialty programs, we have a handful of grantees.
Okay, now the specialty programs, what are specialty programs?
So this year, we're doing a focus on the sciences. And because former Mayor Barry, a very educated man, but almost completed a doctorate in sciences. So we are taking a group of young people to visit medical schools, highlighting the 45th year and his contribution to the SYEP program. So that is a specialty program that we're running this summer, and that is a grant.
All right, when you say you're taking young people to visit medical schools, of the medical schools here in the city? Or are you gonna venture down to Memphis and places like
We're
that
gonna
and
venture down
Nashville
to
and all?
Meharry and
Mhm.
Morehouse School of Medicine. So we're gonna venture down south and give young people an opportunity to see those medical schools.
And what program would this be captured under?
This is SYEP and there is a clever name for this grant that I can't remember the name. I don't remember the name of the grant. I think it's like wellness. I'll find out from the team, but we have a name for the
All right.
program. We'll take approximately 20 people to visit. We'll find out the
Alright,
name of
all
the,
right. Could we please receive a list of the names of all of your programs?
yes,
Your SYEP programs,
we'll do.
that would be very helpful. And the approximate number of participants that you think can be accommodated in that particular program.
Okay, we'll do.
That would be very
We'll
helpful.
do. We'll share the list of last year's host sites as well.
Thank you. That would be really great. For your human care agreements or contractors,
Mhm.
how many do you have already on board for that, the summer program?
So we have finalized all of our HCAs for the summer. We usually start that process in December.
Mhm.
And I think we have less than 30. And
Okay.
I'm happy to share the names of those vendors as well.
That would be helpful. I'm assuming these are the organizations that sort of are the paymasters for, they verify time and attendance for the young people. Is that how these different categories are delineated?
They work with our 14 and 15-year-olds, and they also approve time and do the administrative functions, but they are focused on our 14 and 15-year-olds. And I believe we even have one vendor who we brought on to work with youth with special needs as well.
All right.
Um,
And the special needs mean at-risk youth? Or when you say special needs, what does that mean?
they may require an accommodation, like under the American with Disabilities Act.
All right, okay.
Yes.
We have so many titles.
yes.
I'm just trying to dissect this.
Understood. And
Thank
I
you.
found the name of it's the Pathway to Healthcare grant
Okay.
program that we offered this year. Thank you.
And is the pathway to healthcare, is that with the hospital association of the district, or is that something else?
No, it is something else, and I believe they just finalized it, I think, a couple days ago, and I think it's going to be the Young Doctors Organization. And I believe they're connected to Howard University.
Okay.
And Councilmember Bonds, I said I believe that there were less than 30 human care agreements. There are actually 33 grants,
Okay.
15 HCAs, and we have potentially ending. The team will provide to your team a list of who they are.
Okay. And how many host sites do you have?
Over 700 and growing.
All right. Over 700 and growing. All right. So, and can you let me know in what departments
Yeah.
of our government we have them, and within the federal government, and then the list of nonprofits that are also working with us, and ultimately if we have any for-profit businesses that are doing the hiring. I know our office is going to take, I think
Yes.
we've asked for 2.
Yes.
So we're
Maybe you can help me get the
excited.
other council members to sign
know.
up.
I hope so. They like to tell you what to do, but they don't like to do the grunt. So we'll try. Maybe we need parents to start visiting and saying, you got to take one of my kids,
There you go.
Yeah, I hear you. It is very important. They really get a start here. I believe. Just one sec.
Mhm.
We actually have a few more questions, but they're budget questions, and so we'll just, check with the CFO and we
Okay.
can get that. Oh, I do want to ask this. When a young person is enrolled in the summer employment program, do they customarily work with one organization, or are they given the ability, let's say they're 16 and a half, are they given the ability to work with two different organizations? In other words, two different work sites, or?
No, it's just one for the summer,
Okay.
one for the summer.
What about those that are enrolled in the year-round program?
It's usually one unless there is a site, request change that's made, but it's usually one you're assigning.
Right. So from these work sites and from the what the participants learn, is there a relationship from the work sites, from the host participants, that could lead us to apprenticeships?
We do have, and we'll include this in the list of, I'm gonna call them special programs. But we have had an MBSYEP pre-apprenticeship program connecting SYEP youth in the summer to a pre-apprenticeship. So there is an apprenticeship tie or connection there.
And what kinds of apprenticeships are we talking about?
So
These pre-apprenticeships programs?
yeah, for that one, I believe it's building and construction trades. But when we provide the list of the special programs, I'll notate the type of industry for the pre-apprenticeship.
All right. And can you tell us where they are, where you have these,
Yeah.
with what entity it is?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So we'll hear from you at least by next Tuesday?
For sure, yes.
Okay.
If not sooner. Matter of fact, I'll have the staff send over as they get it. Like maybe we'll send.
That
over
would be
to-
very helpful. That would really help us. Our plan, moving forward is to not just wait and do this big, oversight, in the fall, late fall, early winter, but to really, do it almost like a quarterly or every 3 or 4 months,
Okay.
so that we and the public has a better understanding of what is driving the budgets that we ultimately create, because there seems to be a tremendous disconnect, from what people see or understand happens in implementation of a budget from one year to the other. So we thought it might be helpful to look at it from a different angle and generate some information that could inform us upfront. So it's not just tracking the dollars in a sense.
Understood.
It's really the other. All right, well, I think we reached the end. It's almost 1, and I'm sure that you have other things that you can do other than to talk with us, but I thank you very much. And thanks to all of our participants in today's public hearing and to my colleagues that joined us. I think we've heard valuable discussion about enhancing our youth employment programming. If the public has any additional thoughts or would like to submit written testimony regarding the legislation discussed today, please email it to seal@dccouncil.gov, and that's CEAL@dccouncil.gov. The hearing record will close in 10 business days from today, which is June 13, 2024 at 5 p.m. And the next meeting of the committee will be in the month of July. All right, and so I will just leave those categories of bills that we will examine then until then, because we probably will have a couple of more that are added. So this concludes the hearing today, and with that said, the time is 12:55 PM on the 30th of May, 2024, and the meeting is adjourned. And thank you, everyone, again. Okay. Wasn't too painful, was it?